I suppose I can't get away with talking about Changeling source books without talking about a Changeling Chronicle. I struggle to call it a chronicle. So basically, we have the Immortal Eyes trilogy. And this was meant to be groundbreaking in ways. So, what White Wolf did, that's the publishing company, what they did was they released a trilogy of novels, also entitled Immortal Eyes. And with the novels, they would release these Immortal Eyes Chronicle books that detailed the characters in the novels and how to run a chronicle that follows the events of the novel. I'm not going to lie to you. It might have seemed like a great idea, but the execution was awful, at least in my personal opinion, so bear with me. This book, the first one is called The Toybox. This book just, it's not what it needed to be. So, at $15 US at the time, it was standard for most stuff, but in order to understand what is going on in the Chronicle, you need to read the novel. And that's not cool. Like, hold on, I know I've got, you know what, never mind, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that this book is otherwise so interesting that it saddens me that I have to review this negatively. First of all, if you're trying to run this as a chronicle, the only information you have aside from the characters in the story on how to run it is a timeline on the very last page of the book. And it's just a timeline of on what days the events of the first novel happen. No, that's not okay. So let me go through this in detail. The book begins with a history of San Francisco, which is where the first story takes place. And you know what? It is really well done. It is a great example of how to write a setting book for Changeling. Like, San Francisco, according to this book, is a really interesting setting to run a Changeling Chronicle in. So, immediately after the setting of San Francisco, they talk about the history of it and how it relates to the Fae and the world of darkness. And it's just really cool. It goes as far back as the discovery of California by the Spanish, and even a little bit before that. So it carries on up until the 1990s. And then after that, it goes on about the geography of the San Francisco Bay Area. Like, damn, man, like, this is a really in-depth book. So where it really starts to fall apart is once it starts to go into characters. Because now we're at about half the book done, and that's just setting. So now it goes into the characters, who's who of the changeling world of San Francisco. And okay, cool, yeah, it gives you plenty of people. It starts off with nobility, and it gives you a lot of them, and it gives you, like any good World of Darkness book should, it gives you what their interests and disinterests and their motivations are, as well as their stat block, so that if that ever comes up, you can use it. And there's a lot of nobility, there's a lot of commoners. I don't like that they split the nobility and commoners into two different chapters. I feel like they were just doing that to kind of kill pages. But then we have Chapter 6, Scenes. You'd think this is where they detail the scenes from the Chronicle. It is not. These scenes in the book are little side quests that you can do. They're not strictly necessary. They're just there in case you want to take them. Which is fine. That's by all means do that. That is a great addition to a chronicle. That's something that not a lot of World of Darkness chronicles cover, because they have their set story in mind. So why would you need side missions? Like, that's something you would do in D&D, and we're not D&D. So you get through the scenes. You get through these extra scenes. And then it just appendix. Great. Things that aren't changelings in the back of it. And characters from the books. It's so infuriating to me that they would do that. Like, why would they not give you the scenes from the Chronicle? It's just bizarre that they would not go into detail about the scenes in the book. Since the whole point of this is you get to read the novel and then you get to play the adventure. Which, now that I think about it, is also kind of a bad idea, because then the players know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, so I'm not even missing anything here. It says the following 3 short stories are designed as companion pieces to the Toybox. They weave around and through the stories told in the first book of the Immortal Eyes trilogy. It's a shame, because like I said, over 3/4 of this book is dedicated to San Francisco and its inhabitants, and the first half of the book is just the setting. And it's amazing. It's such a good setting book, and then they go on to publish like the most poorly written adventure, the most poorly written chronicle. And the only reason it's poorly written is because it doesn't tell you how to run the chronicle. You need to purchase the novels. And with that, I've talked about Immortal Eyes, the Toybox. I hope that you enjoyed it, and join me next time when I talk about the second book in the series, Shadows on the Hill. Have a good evening.